How many passwords can you build from 8 characters? How many different poker hands are there? This chapter gives you the tools to answer questions like these without listing every case. Let's start counting. Hello and welcome to this chapter on counting. Counting sounds easy, but here we count very large sets where listing every case by hand would take too long. We learn a few simple rules that do the work for us. We start with the product rule and the sum rule. Then we learn permutations and combinations, which count arrangements and selections. Take your time. Each idea builds on the one before it. This is the plan for the whole chapter. First, the basics of counting, where we meet the product rule and the sum rule. Then the Pigeonhole Principle, a simple but powerful idea. Next, permutations and combinations, which count arrangements and selections. After that, binomial coefficients and their identities. Finally, generalized permutations and combinations. Let's begin with the first one. Now we turn to the first topic. It is the basics of counting. Here we learn the two main rules that almost every counting problem uses. This is the plan for this section. We start with the product rule, then the sum rule. After that, we look at the subtraction rule, and then the division rule. Along the way, we work through many examples. At the end, we use tree diagrams to picture the choices. This is our first rule. It is called the product rule. You do a job in 2 steps, one after the other. There are n sub 1 ways to do the first step. There are n sub 2 ways to do the second step. Then the number of ways to do the whole job is n sub 1 times n sub 2. You multiply. The rule works when the count at each step stays the same, no matter what you picked before. Watch for that. It is the one thing that can go wrong. Let's try the rule on a bit string. A bit string is a row of zeros and ones. We want strings of length 7. Step 1. Ask what we choose. We choose 1 bit for each of the 7 positions. Step 2. Ask how many choices each position has. Each bit is a 0 or a 1, so 2 choices. Step 3. Ask which rule. We fill the positions one after the other, and every position has 2 choices. That is the product rule. The working is on the next slide. We write the working out. Line 1. 2 choices for the first bit, 2 for the second, and so on. 7 2's multiplied together. Line 2. 7 equal factors is just 2 to the power 7. Line 3. 2 to the power 7 is 128, so there are 128 bit strings of length 7. Now a bigger job. A license plate has 3 uppercase letters, then 3 digits. We want the number of plates. Step 1. We choose 1 symbol for each of the 6 positions. Step 2. A letter position holds any of the 26 uppercase letters, so 26 choices. Step 3. A digit position holds any digit from 0 to 9, so 10 choices. Step 4. We fill 6 positions one after the other. That is the product rule again. Next we do the arithmetic. This is the working. Line 1. 1 factor for each position. 26, 26, 26, then 10, 10, 10. Line 2. Group the equal factors. 3 26's make 26 cubed. 3 10's make 10 cubed. Line 3. 26 cubed is 17,576. 10 cubed is 1,000. Line 4. Multiply those two. The answer is 17,576,000 plates. Now we count functions. We have a set with m elements and a set with n elements. How many functions go from the first set to the second? Step 1. A function gives each input exactly one output, so we choose one output for each of the m inputs. Step 2. For one input, we may pick any of the n elements of the second set, that is n choices. Step 3. A function may send two inputs to the same value. Repeats are allowed, so the count stays in for every input. This is the working, line 1. By the product rule, we multiply n by itself once for each input, that is m factors of n. Line 2, m factors of n is n to the power m. So a set with m elements has n to the power m functions into a set with n elements. Notice the small letters. The size of the target set is the base, and the size of the source set is the exponent. A lot of people swap these two, so say it slowly to yourself. Now we count one-to-one functions. A one-to-one function never sends two inputs to the same value, so we need at least as many values as inputs. Take m at most n. If m were bigger than n, there would be no such function at all, because two inputs would have to share a value. Step 1. Give the inputs names, a sub 1, a sub 2, and so on up to a sub m. Step 2. For a sub 1, we may pick any of the n values, so n choices. Step 3. This is the new part. Values may not repeat. Once a sub 1 takes a value, that value is gone. Step 4. So a sub 2 has only n-1 values left. Each new input has one fewer choice than the last. This is the working, line 1. The first input has n choices, the second n-1, the third n-2, and so on. Line 2. There are m inputs, so there are m factors. The last factor is n-m plus 1. Be careful with that last factor. It is n-m plus 1, not n-m count from the start. The first factor is n-0, so the mth factor is n-m minus 1. That is the same as n-m plus 1. Now a real example, the North American numbering plan. A phone number has 10 digits. It has a 3-digit area code, a 3-digit office code, and a 4-digit station code. Some positions are restricted. Let big X be any digit from 0 through 9, so 10 choices. Let big N be a digit from 2 through 9, so 8 choices. Let big Y be a digit that is 0 or 1, so 2 choices. In the old plan, the format was NYX, then NNX, then XXXX. In the new plan, the format is NXX, then NXX, then XXXX. On the next slide, we count how many numbers each plan allows. Now we count. We take one code at a time and use the product rule on its digits. Row 1. An area code in the old format is NYX, that is 8 choices, times 2 times 10, 160. Row 2. An area code in the new format is NXX, that is 8 times 10 times 10, 800. Row 3. An office code is NX, that is 8 times 8 times 10, 640. Row 4. A station code is 4 free digits, 10 to the power 4, which is 10,000. Now we put the three codes of a number together. A phone number is an area code, then an office code, then a station code. 3 steps in a row, so we multiply the 3 counts. Line 1. The old plan. 160 area codes times 640 office codes times 10,000 station codes. Line 2, that gives 1,024,000,000 numbers. Line 3, the new plan, 800 area codes times 800 office codes times 10,000 station codes. Line 4, that gives 6,400,000,000 numbers. The new plan gives more than 6 times as many numbers, and that is why the rules were changed. Now a nice trick. We want the number of subsets of a finite set S. Step 1. Write the elements of S in some fixed order. Element 1, element 2, and so on. Step 2. Turn each subset into a bit string. Put a 1 in position I when element I is in the subset. Put a 0 when it is not. Step 3. Check the match. Every subset gives exactly one string, and every string gives exactly one subset, so the match is 1-to-1. Step 4. That means the two collections have the same size. So instead of counting subsets, we count bit strings of length, the size of S, with 2 choices per bit. This is the working. Line 1. Each of the positions holds a 0 or a 1, 2 choices once per element of S. Line 2. By the product rule that is 2 to the power the size of S. Line 3. The match was 1-to-1, so the subsets are counted by the same number. A set with the size of S elements has 2 to the power the size of S subsets. For a set of 3 elements, that is 8 subsets, and for 10 elements it is 1024. We can say the product rule in the language of sets. Suppose a sub 1, a sub 2, and so on up to a sub m are finite sets. Their Cartesian product is the set of all ordered lists, one element from each set. To choose one such list, we choose an element of a sub 1, then an element of a sub 2, and so on to a sub m. By the product rule, the size of the Cartesian product equals the size of a sub 1 times the size of a sub 2, and so on, times the size of a sub m. Now an example from biology. A gene is a segment of a DNA molecule that codes for a product. That product is usually a protein, though some genes code for other useful molecules instead. All of an organism's genetic information together is called its genome. DNA is made from 4 building blocks called bases. They are adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Written A, C, G, and T. Each link in the DNA chain is one of these 4 bases. Bacterial DNA has between 10 to the 5th and 10 to the 7th links. So by the product rule, there are at least 4 to the power, 10 to the 5th, possible sequences. That is an enormous number. Mammal DNA is even longer, between 10 to the 8th and 10 to the 10th links, giving at least 4 to the power, 10 to the 8th sequences. The human genome has about 23,000 genes, and about 3 billion links in all. Now the second rule. It is called the sum rule. A task can be done in one of n sub 1 ways, or in one of n sub 2 ways. The 2 groups must not overlap. No way in the first group may also be in the second group. Then the number of ways is n sub 1 plus n sub 2. We add. There is an easy way to remember which rule to use. Look for the word and or the word or. Steps that follow one another, this step and that step, means multiply. Cases that replace one another, this case or that case, means add. Let's work 1. A department picks 1 representative. There are 37 faculty and 83 majors, and nobody is both. Step 1. We choose 1 person to be the representative. Step 2. Steps or cases. The person is a faculty member or a major. That is 2 cases, not 2 steps, so we add. Step 3. Check the overlap. Nobody is both a faculty member and a major. The cases are separate, so the sum rule applies. Now the working. 37 faculty plus 83 majors. That is 120 possible representatives. We can also say the sum rule in the language of sets. Take two sets A and B that are disjoint, which means they share no element. Then the size of the union of A and B equals the size of A plus the size of B. This works because we count no element twice. More generally, take sets of sub-1 through a sub-m that are pairwise disjoint. That means every two different sets share no element. Then the size of their union equals the size of a sub-1 plus the size of a sub-2, and so on, plus the size of a sub-m. When the sets do share elements, we need the subtraction rule, which we study soon and fully in Chapter 8. This example uses both rules together. A label is one of two kinds. It is a single letter, or it is a letter followed by a digit. Step 1, split into cases. Kind 1 or kind 2. The word or tells us the sum rule will finish the job. Step 2, count the first case. A single letter has 26 choices. Step 3, count the second case. Pick the letter, then pick the digit. 2 steps in a row, so the product rule. 26 times 10 is 260. Step 4, check the overlap. A one-character label is never a two-character label, so nothing is counted twice. This is the working. Line 1. Add the two cases. 26 for the single letter plus the count for a letter and a digit. Line 2. That second count is 26 times 10, which is 260. Line 3. 26 plus 260 is 286, so there are 286 different labels. Notice how the two rules work together. The product rule counts inside one case. The sum rule joins the cases. Now a longer example. A password is 6 to 8 characters long. Each character is an uppercase letter or a digit, and every password must contain at least one digit. Step 1. Count the choices for one character. 26 letters plus 10 digits is 36. Step 2. Split by length. A password has length 6, 7, or 8, and never two of these at once. So by the sum rule, the total P is P6 plus P7 plus P8. Step 3. Now the extra rule. Counting the strings with at least one digit directly is hard. So we count all strings, then subtract the ones that break the rule. The bad ones are the strings that use letters only. Let's do one length in full. Line 1. We want P6, the number of passwords of length 6. Line 2. Count every string of 6 characters, then take away the strings that use letters only. That is 36 to the 6th minus 26 to the 6th. Line 3. 36 to the 6th is 2,176,782,336. 26 to the 6th is 308,915,776. Line 4. Subtract. There are 1,867,866,560 passwords of length 6. The same working 3 times over. Each row is one length. Row 1, length 6. We just did this one. The answer is about 1.9 billion. Row 2, length 7. All strings is 36 to the 7th, about 78 billion. Letters only is 26 to the 7th, about 8 billion. The difference is about 70 billion. Row 3, length 8. All strings is 36 to the 8th, about 2.8 trillion. Letters only is about 209 billion. The difference is about 2.6 trillion. Last step. The three links are separate cases, so the sum rule finishes the job. Add P6, P7, and P8. The total is 2,684,483,063,360 passwords. Look at the three rows again. Each extra character multiplies the count by about 36. That is why a longer password is so much harder to guess. Now Internet addresses. Version 4 of the Internet Protocol, called IP version 4, uses a 32-bit address. The first few bits tell us the class. The class then splits the remaining bits into two parts. The netted names the network. The hosted names one machine on that network. Read the table one row at a time. A Class A address starts with a single 0-bit, then a 7-bit netted, then a 24-bit hosted. A Class B address starts with 1 0, then a 14-bit netted and a 16-bit hosted. A Class C address starts with 1 1 0, then a 21-bit netted and an 8-bit hosted. Class D starts with 1 1 1 0 and uses all 28 remaining bits for one address field. Class E starts with 4 1 bits and also uses all 28 remaining bits. Notice the pattern. Class A has few networks with many machines each. Class C has many networks with few machines each. Before we count, we need the restrictions. Class A is for the largest networks, Class B for medium ones, and Class C for the smallest. Now the rules that take addresses away. Class D and Class E are never used as the address of a computer, so we skip them. In Class A2, netteds are reserved for special use. One is all 0 bits, and the other is all 1 bits. And in every network, a hosted of all zeros and a hosted of all ones are reserved, so neither is available. Remember these three rules. They are exactly why the counts on the next slide subtract 2. Now we count. Take one class at a time. Inside a class, we pick a netted and then a hosted. 2 steps in a row, so we multiply. Row 1, Class A, the netted, has 7 bits, so 2 to the 7, minus the 2 that are reserved. That is 126 netteds. The hosted has 24 bits, minus the 2 reserved ones. That is 16,777,214. Multiply them, and X sub A is about 2.1 billion. Row 2, Class B, the netted has 14 bits, so 16,384 netteds. The hosted has 16 bits minus 2, which is 65,534. Multiply, and X sub B is about 1.07 billion. Row 3, Class C, the netted has 21 bits, so 2,097,152 netteds. The hosted has 8 bits minus 2, which is 254. That gives X sub C, about 533 million. A machine sits in Class A or Class B or Class C 3 separate cases, so the sum rule finishes the job. Add the 3 counts. The total is 3,720,314,628 addresses. 3.7 billion sounds like plenty. It was not. The world ran out of these addresses. The newer protocol, IP version 6, uses a much longer address and fixes the shortage. One last note, in case you are reading along in a textbook. Some books give a slightly bigger total, 3,737,000,000 and change. The difference is one Class A block. Those books reserve only netted 127. We reserve netted 0 as well because it is also special, so we take away one more block of 16 million. Now the third rule. A task can be done in one of two ways, but this time the two groups may share some ways. If we just add the two counts, every shared way is counted twice. So we add n sub 1 and n sub 2, then subtract the ways that are common to both. This rule has a second name, the principle of inclusion and exclusion. In set language, the size of a 1 union a 2 equals the size of a 1 plus the size of a 2 minus the size of a 1 intersect a 2. Add the two counts, then take the overlap away once. Chapter 8 does the general case. Let's count some bit strings. Each string is 8 bits long. We want the strings that start with a 1 or end with 0, 0. Step 1, steps or cases. The word or points at cases, so we will be adding. Step 2, but check the overlap first. A string can do both at once. It can start with a 1 and also end with 0, 0. Step 3, the cases overlap, so the plain sum rule would double count. We need the subtraction rule. Next we count the three groups. Now we count each group. The trick every time is to ask how many bits are still free, then raise 2 to that number. Row 1, strings that start with a 1. The first bit is fixed, the other 7 are free. 2 to the 7 is 128. Row 2, strings that end with 0, 0. The last 2 bits are fixed, the first 6 are free. 2 to the 6 is 64. Row 3, strings that do both. Now 3 bits are fixed, 1 at the front and 2 at the end. 5 bits in the middle are free. 2 to the 5 is 32. This is the working. Line 1. Add the first two counts, then take away the overlap once. Line 2. 128 plus 64 is 192. But the 32 strings that do both are inside that total twice. Line 3. Subtract those 32. The answer is 160-bit strings. Now the division rule. Suppose a task can be done in n ways. Suppose also that each real outcome is produced by exactly d of those ways. Then the number of different outcomes is n divided by d. We can say this in two more ways. In set language, if a finite set A is split into n disjoint subsets, and each subset has size d, then n equals the size of a divided by d. In function language, if a function f from A to B sends exactly d elements to each value, then the size of b equals the size of a divided by d, so when every outcome is counted d times, we divide by d to fix the overcount. Let's use the division rule. 4 people sit around a round table. 2 seatings count as the same when every person has the same neighbor on the left and the same neighbor on the right. Step 1. Forget the table for a moment and line the 4 people up in a row. That is 4 factorial, which is 24 orderings. Step 2. Now ask the division rule question. Did we count any seating more than once? Yes. Around a circle there is no first chair, so we may write the same seating starting from any person. Step 3. There are 4 people, so each real seating appears 4 times in our 24, so D is 4. This is the working. Line 1. Take the row count, 4 factorial, and divide by D, which is 4. Line 2. 4 factorial is 24. Line 3. 24 divided by 4 is 6, so there are 6 different seatings around the table. The same idea works for n people at a round table. The answer is n factorial divided by n. A tree diagram counts step by step. Each branch is one choice. Each leaf at the bottom is one outcome. To get the answer, count the leaves. Now the shirt example. The shirts come in 5 sizes: small, medium, large, extra large, and double extra large. Most sizes come in 4 colors: white, red, green, and black. But there are 2 exceptions. Extra large comes only in red, green, and black. Double extra large comes only in green and black. Those exceptions matter. The product rule needs the same number of choices at every branch, and here the number of colors changes from size to size. So we draw the tree instead. This is the tree. Read it from the top. The dark dot at the top is the start before any choice is made. The first row of branches is the size. 5 branches, 1 for each size. This first one is small. This branch is extra large, and the one next to it is double extra large. Under each size come the colors it is sold in. White, red, green, and black under the first 3 sizes. Extra large is sold only in red, green, and black. There is no white branch under it. Double extra large is sold only in green and black. 2 branches, not 4. Every circle at the bottom is 1 leaf, and 1 leaf is 1 shirt the store could sell. Count them and you have the answer. Now we count the leaves. Line 1. Small has 4 leaves, medium 4, large 4, extra large 3, and double extra large 2. Line 2. Add them. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 17. The store must stock 17 shirts to have every size in every color it sells. Keep the lesson from this one. The product rule needs the same number of choices at every branch. Here the number of colors changes, so the product rule does not apply. Drawing the tree and counting the leaves always works. Now we turn to a simple but very powerful counting idea, the Pigeonhole Principle. It says that if you have more objects than boxes, then some box must hold more than one object. This is the plan for this section. First, we learn the basic pigeonhole principle. Then we learn a stronger form called the Generalized Pigeonhole Principle. Both ideas count objects placed into boxes. Start with a picture. 20 pigeons fly into 19 holes. There are more pigeons than holes, so at least one hole must take more than one pigeon. The small drawing shows the same thing with smaller numbers. This third box is forced to hold 2 pigeons. 5 pigeons, 4 boxes, so one box holds 2. This is the rule in general. Let k be a positive whole number. Place k plus 1 objects into k boxes. Then at least one box holds 2 or more objects. It sounds too simple to be useful. It is one of the sharpest tools in this chapter. Let's see why the rule is true. We use contraposition. We assume the opposite of what we want and watch it break. Step 1. Assume no box holds 2 or more objects. Then every box holds at most 1. Step 2. Add over all the boxes. At most 1 each over k boxes is at most k objects in total. Step 3. But we placed k plus 1 objects, and k plus 1 is bigger than k the objects do not fit. That is a contradiction, so the assumption was wrong. Some box does hold 2 or more. Now a result about functions. Suppose f maps a set of k plus 1 elements into a set of only k elements. Then f cannot be one-to-one. Step 1. Pick the boxes. Make 1 box for each possible output while there are k outputs, so k boxes. Step 2. Pick the objects. The objects are the k plus 1 inputs. Step 3. say where each object goes. Input x goes in the box for its output, f of x. Step 4. Now apply the pigeonhole principle. More inputs than boxes, so some box holds two different inputs. Those two inputs have the same output, so f is not one-to-one. Notice the shape of the argument. Naming the boxes and the objects is the whole job. Now a famous example. Take any group of 367 people. Two of them must share a birthday. Step 1. Pick the boxes. There are 366 possible birthdays, counting the 29th of February. Step 2. Pick the objects. The objects are the 367 people. Each person goes in the box for their birthday. Step 3. Compare. 367 is more than 366. Step 4. So one box holds at least two people, and those two people share a birthday. Notice what we did not learn. We do not know which day it is, only that some day is shared. Now a clever one. We claim that for every positive whole number n, some multiple of n is written using only zeros and ones. The number n must be positive, because we are about to take n plus 1 objects in n boxes. Step 1. Pick the objects. Take the numbers 1, then 1, 1, then 1, 1, 1, and so on. Take n plus 1 of them, so the last one has n plus 1 ones. Step 2. Pick the boxes. Divide each of them by n. A remainder is one of the numbers 0 up to n minus 1, so there are exactly n boxes. Step 3. We have n plus 1 numbers and only n boxes, so two of the numbers land in the same box. They leave the same remainder. The finish is on the next slide. Now we finish. Take the two numbers that share a remainder and subtract the smaller from the larger. Line 1. A small case. 5 ones minus 2 ones. Line 2. The subtraction never borrows, because the longer number has a 1 in every place the shorter one does. What is left is the extra ones at the front and zeros at the back. Only zeros and ones. Line 3. Two numbers with the same remainder differ by a multiple of n, so this number is divisible by n. Equal remainders means the difference is divisible by n, and the shorter string of ones always subtracts cleanly from a longer one. We have found a multiple of n written with only zeros and ones, and we never had to search for it. Now we make the principle stronger. Place n objects into k boxes. Then at least one box holds at least the ceiling of n over k objects. The ceiling brackets mean round up to the next whole number. The old rule is the case where n is k plus 1. Now an example. Among 100 people, at least 9 share a birth month. Step 1. Take 100 people. The boxes are the 12 months, so k is 12 and n is 100. Step 2. Divide 100 by 12. That is 8.33, and rounding up gives 9. So at least 9 of the 100 people were born in the same month. This is why the stronger rule holds. Again, we assume the opposite. Assume every box holds at most the ceiling of n over k minus 1. Line 1. Then the total is at most k boxes times that amount. Line 2. Rounding up adds less than 1, so the ceiling of n over k is smaller than n over k plus 1. Put that in and the total is smaller still. Line 3. The k and the k on the bottom cancel, and the plus 1 and minus 1 cancel. What is left is n, so the total is strictly less than n objects, but we placed n objects. That is a contradiction, so some box holds at least the ceiling of n over k. Let's count cards. We draw cards from a normal deck. How many must we draw to be sure of 3 cards in the same suit? Step 1. Pick the boxes. There are 4 suits, so K is 4. Each card goes in the box for its suit. Step 2. Say what we need. We need 1 box to hold 3 cards. Step 3. Write that as a condition. By the generalized principle, some box holds at least the ceiling of n over 4, so it is enough that the ceiling of n over 4 is 3 or more. Step 4. Now we look for the smallest n that makes this true. This is the working. Line 1. We need the ceiling of n over 4 to be at least 3. Line 2. Think about the worst case. 8 cards can split evenly, 2 in each of the 4 suits, and that is still not 3, so n must be more than 2 times 4. Line 3. The smallest whole number bigger than 8 is 9. Draw 9 cards and 1 suit must hold 3 of them. Check it. The ceiling of 9 over 4 is the ceiling of 2.25, which is 3. Now a question that looks the same but is not. How many cards must we draw to be sure of 3 hearts? Step 1. Split the deck. 13 cards are hearts and 39 are not. Step 2. Imagine the worst luck you could have. You draw every card that is not a heart first, then 2 hearts. Step 3. That is 39 plus 2, which is 41 cards, and you still hold only 2 hearts. Step 4. Draw 1 more. The deck has nothing left but hearts, so card 42 is a heart. 42 cards are enough. Notice we did not use the generalized principle. That principle promises 3 cards in some suit, but it does not say which suit. We need 3 cards in one named suit, the hearts, so it does not answer our question, and we reason about the worst case instead. Now we turn to a new topic. We learn how to count arrangements and selections. When order matters, we count permutations. When order does not matter, we count combinations. This is the plan for this section. First, permutations, where we count ordered arrangements. Then combinations, where we count unordered selections. At the end, we learn combinatorial proofs, a clever way to prove counting facts by counting the same thing in 2 ways. A permutation is an ordered arrangement of distinct objects. The word ordered is the important one. 3, 1, 2 and 1, 2. 3 use the same numbers but count as different permutations. If we arrange only R of the elements, we call it an R permutation. We write P of n comma R for the number of R permutations of a set with n distinct elements. Look at the set S with the elements 1, 2, 3. The arrangement 3, 1, 2 uses all 3, so it is a permutation of S. The arrangement 3, 2 uses only 2 of them, so it is a 2 permutation. Let's list every 2 permutation of the set 1, 2, 3. We build them in order, first element then second. Row 1 start with 1. The second element is 2 or 3. That gives 1, 2 and 1, 3. Row 2 start with 2. The second is 1 or 3. That gives 2, 1 and 2, 3. Row 3 start with 3. The second is 1 or 2. That gives 3, 1 and 3, 2. Count them 6 pairs. So P of 3, 2 is 6, and look at the shape of the table. 3 choices for the first, 2 for the second. 3 times 2 is 6. That is the product rule, and it is where the formula comes from. This is the formula. Theorem 1 says, for R between 1 and n, P of n, R equals n, times n minus 1, times n minus 2, and so on, down to n minus r plus 1. The proof is the product rule. Pick the first element in n ways. 1 element is now used, so the second has n minus 1 ways. The third has n minus 2, and so on. There are r factors, so the last one is n minus r minus 1. One more fact. P of n, 0 is 1. There is exactly one way to arrange nothing, namely the empty arrangement. That looks like a technicality now, but it keeps the formulas tidy later. The product form is fine for numbers, but a factorial form is easier to work with. Line 1. Start from P of n, r. Line 2. Theorem 1 writes it as n times n minus 1, and so on down to n minus r plus 1. Line 3. Now a small trick. Multiply the top and the bottom by n minus r factorial. That changes nothing because we divided by the same thing we multiplied. Line 4. Look at the top. The factors run all the way from n down to 1. That is n factorial. So P of n, r equals n factorial over n minus r factorial. Now we use the formula. A contest has 100 different people. We pick the winners of first, second, and third prize. Step 1. Ask what we choose. 3 people out of 100. Step 2. Ask whether order matters. It does. Winning first prize is not the same as winning third, so the same 3 people in a different order is a different outcome. Step 3. Ask about repetition. Nobody can win 2 prizes, so no repeats. Step 4. Ordered and no repeats. That is a permutation. We want P of 100, 3. This is the working. Line 1. We want P of 100, 3. Line 2. Theorem 1 gives 3 factors, 1 for each prize. 100 people could take first prize. 99 are left for second. 98 are left for third. Line 3. Multiply. The answer is 970,200 ways. Notice we never needed 100 factorial. 3 factors were enough. Now a classic problem. A saleswoman visits 8 cities. She starts in a fixed city, then visits the other 7 in any order. Step 1. Ask what is already fixed. The starting city is given, so it is not a choice. Step 2. Ask what is left. 7 cities, and she may visit them in any order she likes. Step 3. We are arranging all 7 in order with no repeats. That is 7 factorial. So the count is 7 factorial. 7 factorial is 5,040. So there are 5,040 roots to compare. This is a small traveling salesman problem. Add a few more cities, and the factorial grows so fast that no computer can check every root. Now a useful trick. How many permutations of the letters A through H contain the block A, B, C? Step 1. Ask what must stay together. The letters A, B, and C must appear side by side in that order. Step 2. Glue them into a single block. Treat a BC as one object that cannot be broken up. Step 3. Count the objects now. The block plus D, E, F, G, and H, that is 6 objects. Arrange the 6 objects in any order. That is 6 factorial. 6 factorial is 720. Remember the trick. When items must stay together, glue them and count the glued object once. Now we count selections where order does not matter. An R combination is an unordered selection of R elements. In plain words, it is a subset of size R. We write C of n, R for the number of R combinations of a set with n elements. We also write it as n choose R, and we call it a binomial coefficient. Look at the set S with the elements of B, C, and D. The selection of C, D picks 3 of them, so it is a 3 combination. Order does not matter, so a C, D, and D, C, are the same selection, not two selections. Let's list every two combination of the set of B, C, D to be sure nothing repeats. We group them by their smallest letter. Row 1. Subsets that contain A, they are a B, a C, and a D. Row 2. Subsets that contain B, but not A, they are B, C, and B, D. Row 3. Subsets that contain C, but not O or B, only C, D. Count them. 6 subsets, so C of 4, 2 is 6. Compare that with P of 4, 2, which is 12. Every subset of two elements can be written in two orders, so the ordered count is exactly twice as large. That factor of 2 is R factorial, and it is the whole difference between the two formulas. This is the formula for combinations. Theorem 2 says C of n, R equals n factorial over n minus R factorial times R factorial. The proof counts the same thing in two ways. Think about how to build an ordered arrangement of R elements. Do it in 2 steps. First, choose which R elements to use. That is C of n, R ways. Then put those R elements in order. That is P of R, R ways. 2 steps in a row, so we multiply. The working is on the next slide. This is the working. Line 1. We want C of n, R. Line 2. From the product rule on the last slide, C of n, R is P of n, R divided by P of R, R. We are dividing out the orderings, because a subset does not care about order. Line 3. Now use the factorial form for both. The top becomes n factorial over n minus R factorial. The bottom becomes R factorial over R minus R factorial, and R minus R is 0. Line 4. 0 factorial is 1, so the bottom is just R factorial. That leaves n factorial over n minus R factorial times R factorial. That is the formula. Let's count poker hands. We deal 5 cards from a deck of 52. Step 1. Ask what we choose. 5 cards out of 52. Step 2. Ask whether order matters. It does not. You pick up your hand and you may sort it however you like. It is still the same hand. Step 3. Ask about repetition. There is one deck, so no card appears twice. Step 4. Unordered and no repeats. That is a combination. We want C of 52, 5. This is the working. Line 1. We want C of 52, 5. Line 2. Theorem 2 gives 52 factorial over 5 factorial times 47 factorial. Line 3. Never work out 52 factorial. Cancel instead. The 47 factorial on the bottom eats all but the top 5 factors. What is left is 52 times 51 times 50 times 49 times 48 over 5 factorial. Line 4. Do the arithmetic. There are 2,598,960 poker hands. Now the second question. How many ways can we select 47 cards from the 52? Line 1. We want C of 52, 47. Line 2. Theorem 2 gives 52 factorial over 47 factorial times 5 factorial. Line 3. Look at that carefully. It is the same fraction as before with the two bottom factors swapped, so it equals C of 52, 5. Line 4. The same number 2,598,960. There is a plain reason. Choosing 47 cards to keep is exactly the same act as choosing 5 cards to leave behind. The next slide makes that a rule. This is the rule behind the poker surprise. Corollary 2 says C of n comma r equals C of n comma n minus r. Line 1. Start from the harder side, C of n comma n minus r. Line 2. Put it through theorem 2. The bottom becomes n minus, the quantity n minus r factorial times n minus r factorial. Line 3. Simplify that first bracket. N minus r is just r. Line 4. Now the bottom is r factorial times n minus r factorial, which is theorem 2 for C of n comma r, so the two are equal. Let's meet a new kind of proof. It is called a combinatorial proof. Instead of pushing symbols around, we count the same thing in two ways. Definition 1 gives two forms. The first is a double counting proof. Both sides of the identity count the very same collection of objects, just from 2 points of view. The second is a bijective proof. We build a bijection, that is a one-to-one matching, between the set counted by the left side and the set counted by the right side. If two sets match up one-to-one, they have the same size. Let's prove the symmetry again, this time by counting instead of by algebra. This is the bijective form. Let S be a set with n elements. Step 1. Name the two collections. First, the subsets of S with R elements. Second, the subsets with n minus R elements. Step 2. Build a map. Send each subset A to its complement, which is everything in S that is not in A if it has R elements. The complement has n minus R. Step 3. Check it is a bijection. Take the complement twice and you are back at A, so the map undoes itself. Nothing is missed and nothing is hit twice. Step 4. Two collections matched one-to-one have the same size. So C of n comma r equals C of n comma n minus r. Now the same fact by double counting. Step 1. Fix one collection of objects. Take the subsets of S that have R elements. We will count this one collection twice. Step 2. Count it the first way. Choose which R elements are in the subset. There are C of n comma r ways. Step 3. Count it a second way. A subset is just as well described by what it leaves out. Choose which n minus r elements are out. There are C of n comma n minus r ways. Step 4. We counted one collection, so the two answers must agree. That gives the identity with no algebra at all. This is the pattern for every double counting proof. One collection, two honest counts, one equation. Let's do two more quickly. A tennis team has 10 members and 5 of them go on a trip. Step 1. Ask whether order matters. It does not. The 5 players all go on the same trip and nobody gets a numbered place. Step 2. Ask about repetition. A player cannot be picked twice. So this is a combination. We want C of 10, 5. By theorem 2, that is 10 factorial over 5 factorial times 5 factorial. That works out to 252 ways to pick the 5. Now the second one. 30 people have trained as astronauts, and we choose a crew of 6 for a mission to Mars. Order does not matter here either, so it is a combination. Line 1. We want C of 30, 6. Line 2. Theorem 2 gives 30 factorial over 6 factorial times 24 factorial. Line 3. Cancel the 24 factorial. 6 factors survive on top: 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, and 25. The bottom is 6 factorial. Line 4. The answer is 593,775 possible crews. Now we turn to binomial coefficients. We will see the binomial theorem, which tells us how to expand x plus y to a power. Then we meet Pascal's identity and Pascal's triangle. This is the plan for this section. First, we learn the binomial theorem. It gives the coefficients when we expand x plus y to a power. Then we study Pascal's identity and the triangle of numbers built from it. The book also has other identities, but they are not in these slides. A binomial expression is just the sum of two terms, like x plus y. We want to expand x plus y to the power n. Let's start with the power 3. So x plus y cubed is x plus y times x plus y times x plus y. When we multiply these three sums, each term takes one piece from each sum. The pieces are either an x or a y, so the terms we get have the forms x cubed, x squared times y, x times y squared, and y cubed. Now we ask, what number sits in front of each term? Let's count the coefficients one at a time. The question each time is, in how many ways can this term be built? Row 1. For x cubed, we must take an x from all three factors. There is one way, so the coefficient is 1. Row 2. For x squared y, we take a y from exactly one factor and an x from the other two. Choosing that one factor is 3, choose 1, which is 3. Row 3. For x times y squared, we take a y from two of the three factors. That is 3, choose 2, which is also 3. Row 4. For y cubed, we take a y from every factor. One way, so the coefficient is 1. Now put the counts together. Line 1. We are expanding x plus y cubed. Line 2. Write each term with the count we just found in front of it. 1x cubed, 3x squared y, 3xy squared, 1y cubed. Line 3. Drop the ones because multiplying by 1 changes nothing. Look at the four coefficients, 1, 3, 3, 1. Those are 3, choose 0, 3, choose 1, 3, choose 2, 3, choose 3. We never multiplied anything out. We only counted. The next slide turns this into a theorem for every power n. Now the binomial theorem. Let x and y be variables, and let n be a whole number that is 0 or more. Line 1. We are expanding x plus y to the power n. Line 2. The answer is the sum from j equals 0 to n of n choose j times x to the n minus j times y to the j, read the exponents. They always add up to n as j grows, the power of y grows and the power of x shrinks. Line 3. The same thing written out. N choose 0 times x to the n, plus n choose 1 times x to the n minus 1 times y, and so on up to n choose n times y to the n. The proof is the same counting we did for the cube, now with n factors. Step 1. Ask what one term looks like. Each factor hands over an x or a y, so a term is x to the n minus j times y to the j for some j between 0 and n. Step 2. Ask how that term is built. We take an x from n minus j of the n factors and a y from the rest. Step 3. Ask in how many ways. Choosing which factors give the x is n choose n minus j. Step 4. Corollary 2 says n choose n minus j is the same as n choose j, that is the coefficient in the theorem. Let's use the theorem on a harder expression. What is the coefficient of x to the 12th times y to the 13th in 2x minus 3y all to the power 25? Step 1. The theorem needs a sum, and we have a difference. So rewrite 2x minus 3y as 2x plus minus 3y. Nothing changed except how we read it. Step 2. Name the parts. The thing playing x is 2x, the thing playing y is minus 3y, sign included. Keeping that sign inside is the step people forget. Step 3. Find the right term. The power of y is j, and we want y to the 13, so j is 13. That also fixes the power of x as 25 minus 13, which is 12, exactly what we wanted. This is the working. Line 1. Write the term for j equals 13. 25 choose 13 times 2x to the 12th times minus 3y to the 13th. Line 2. Pull the numbers out of the brackets. 2x to the 12th is 2 to the 12th times x to the 12th. Minus 3y to the 13th is minus 3 to the 13th times y to the 13th. Line 3. 13 is odd, so minus 3 to the 13th is negative. The coefficient is minus. 25 choose 13 times 2 to the 12th times 3 to the 13th. Now a useful identity. Add up a whole row of binomial coefficients and you get a power of 2. Line 1. Start from 2 to the n. Line 2. Write 2 as 1 plus 1. Now we have a binomial raised to the n. Line 3. Apply the binomial theorem with x equal to 1 and y equal to 1. That gives the sum of n choose k times 1 to the k times 1 to the n minus k. Line 4. Every power of 1 is 1, so those factors vanish. What is left is the plain sum of n choose k, that is the identity. The same identity falls out of double counting, with no algebra. Step 1. Fix the collection. Take every subset of a set with n elements. Step 2. Count them by size. There are n choose 0 subsets of size 0, n choose 1 of size 1, and so on up to n choose n. Add those and you have every subset exactly once. Step 3. Count them a different way. Walk through the elements and decide in or out for each one. 2 choices n times over, so 2 to the n. Step 4. 1 collection, 2 honest counts, so the answers agree. The sum of the binomial coefficients equals 2 to the n. This is the same fact we proved with bit strings back in section 1. Now we meet Pascal's identity. If n and k are whole numbers with n greater than or equal to k, and k is at least 1, then n plus 1 choose k equals n choose k minus 1, plus n choose k. We need k to be at least 1, because the right side uses n choose k minus 1, and k minus 1 must not be negative. The identity is named after Blaise Pascal, who lived in the 1600s. On the next slide, we prove this by counting. The book also gives an algebraic proof in exercise 19. Now the counting proof of Pascal's identity. Let T be a set with n plus 1 element. Choose one element and call it A, take it out of T and call the rest S, so S has n elements. Step 1. Fix the collection. Take the subsets of T with k elements. Step 2. Count them the first way. There are n plus 1 choose k of them. That is the left side. Step 3. Now count them again, split into 2 cases. First case, the subset contains A, then O is settled, and the other k minus 1 elements come from S, that is n choose k minus 1. Step 4. Second case, the subset does not contain A, then all k elements come from S, that is n choose k. Now join the 2 cases. Line 1. The left side is the first count, every k element subset of T. Line 2. The right side has the 2 cases. the subsets that contain A plus the subsets that do not. Lie may we add, a subset either contains A or it does not, never both and never neither, so the cases do not overlap and they miss nothing. The sum rule applies, and we have Pascal's identity. Every subset was counted exactly once on each side. This is Pascal's triangle. It is built row by row. The top is a single one. Each new row starts and ends with a 1. Every other entry is the sum of the two entries just above it. Look at row 4, which reads 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Those are the coefficients we would get from expanding x plus y to the fourth. Row n lists the binomial coefficients n choose 0, n choose 1, and so on up to n choose n. The whole triangle is Pascal's identity, drawn. Look at the two colored numbers in row 6, 15 and 6, side by side. Just below them in row 7 sits 21. 15 plus 6 is 21. The next slide works that through. Let's follow the highlighted numbers from the last slide. Line 1. Take two neighbors in row 6. 6 choose 4 and 6 choose 5. Line 2. Read them off the triangle. They are 15 and 6. Line 3. Add them. 15 plus 6 is 21. Line 4. Now look one row down between them. There sits 21, which is 7 choose 5. That is Pascal's identity at work, and it is how the whole triangle is built without a single factorial. Now we turn to the last section of this chapter. We count in harder settings. What if we may pick the same item more than once? What if some of the items look exactly the same? And how do we place objects into boxes? These questions all come up in real problems. Let's work through them one by one. This is the plan for this section. First, permutations with repetition, where we may reuse an item. Second, combinations with repetition, using a neat trick called stars and bars. Third, permutations when some objects are identical and cannot be told apart. Last, we count the ways to place objects into boxes. Let's begin with the first one. First, permutations with repetition. That means we may use the same object again and again. The number of R permutations of a set of n objects with repetition allowed is n to the power r. Line 1. We fill R positions one at a time. Because repeats are allowed, every position still has all n objects to choose from. The count never drops. Line 2. By the product rule that is n multiplied by itself r times, which is n to the power r. Now an example. Strings of length r from the 26 uppercase letters. Each of the R positions holds any of the 26 letters, so the answer is 26 to the power r. Now combinations with repetition. A box holds bills, at least 5 of each type. The types are $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, and $100. That is 7 types. In how many ways can we pick 5 bills? Two things are different from before. The order does not matter, so this is a selection, not an arrangement. And we may pick the same type more than once, so 3 $20 bills is a legal choice. Neither formula so far handles that. To see the trick, picture a cash box with 7 cells, 1 for each type. Drop each chosen bill into its cell. This first cell is for the $100 bills. The next slide turns that picture into a count. This is the clever trick, and it is called stars and bars. Line the 7 cells up and put a bar between each pair of cells. 7 cells need 6 bars. Then mark each chosen bill with a star. Read the first row. 3 stars, then a bar, then a bar, then 2 stars, then the rest bars. 3 stars in the first cell means 3 $100 bills. 2 stars in the third cell means 2 $20 bills. The second row shows 2 $10 bills and 3 $1 bills. The third row shows 4 different types. Now look at what every row has in common. 6 bars and 5 stars always. Nothing else changes. Now we count the rows. Every choice of 5 bills is a row of 6 bars and 5 stars. Step 1. How long is a row? 6 bars plus 5 stars is 11 symbols. Step 2. What fixes a row? Once we say which positions hold the stars, the bars fill the rest. So a row is just a choice of 5 positions out of 11. Now the working. That choice is C of 11, 5. By theorem 2, that is 11 factorial, over 5 factorial times 6 factorial. It works out to 462 ways to pick the 5 bills. Now we write the general rule. The number of R combinations from a set of n elements, when repetition is allowed, is C of n plus R minus 1, R. This also equals C of n plus R minus 1, n minus 1. This is the proof using stars and bars. We have n types, so we need n minus 1 bars to make n cells. We choose R items, so we place R stars. The stars in each cell tell us how many items of that type we took. Together the row has n plus R minus 1 symbols. To count the rows, we pick which R of these positions are stars. That gives C of n plus R minus 1, R. Or we pick which n minus 1 positions are bars. That gives C of n plus R minus 1, n minus 1. Both answers are equal. Now a nice use of theorem 2, on a problem that does not look like counting at all. How many solutions does x sub 1 plus x sub 2 plus x sub 3 equal 11 have, when the 3 numbers are whole numbers that are 0 or more? Step 1. Turn it into a selection. Think of 11 identical items shared among 3 types. The value x sub 1 is how many items type 1 gets, and so on. Step 2. Does order matter? No, only the totals matter. Step 3. Is repetition allowed? Yes. A type may take many of the items or none. Step 4. So read off the numbers. There are n equals 3 types and R equals 11 items. This is the working. Line 1. Theorem 2 says the count is C of n plus R minus 1, R. Line 2. Put in n equals 3 and R equals 11. Line 3. 3 plus 11 minus 1 is 13, so we want C of 13, 11. By corollary 2, that equals C of 13, 2, and picking 2 is much easier arithmetic than picking 11. Line 4. 13 factorial over 11 factorial times 2 factorial is 13 times 12 over 2, which is 78. So the equation has 78 solutions. Now an everyday version of the same problem. A cookie shop sells 4 kinds of cookies, and we choose 6 cookies. Step 1. Does order matter? No. They all go in one bag, so the order we pick them in is lost. Step 2. Is repetition allowed? Yes. 6 chocolate chip cookies is a perfectly good choice. Step 3. Read off the numbers. There are n equals 4 kinds, and we take R equals 6 cookies. Watch which number is which. The kinds are the types, so kinds are n. This is the working. Line 1. Theorem 2 again. C of n plus R minus 1, R. Line 2. Put in n equals 4 and R equals 6. Line 3. 4 plus 6 minus 1 is 9, so we want C of 9, 6. That is 9 factorial over 6 factorial times 3 factorial. Line 4. Cancel and multiply. 9 times 8 times 7 over 6 is 84, so there are 84 ways to choose the 6 cookies. These are the 4 formulas in one table. 2 questions, choose between them. Does order matter, and may we repeat? Row 1. Order matters, no repeats, that is R permutations. N factorial over N minus R factorial. Row 2. Order does not matter, no repeats, that is R combinations. N factorial over R factorial times N minus R factorial. The extra R factorial divides out the orderings. Row 3. Order matters, repeats aloud, that is simply N to the power R. Row 4. Order does not matter, repeats aloud, that is stars and bars. N plus R minus 1 factorial over R factorial times N minus 1 factorial. Ask those 2 questions before you write anything down. That habit is most of the skill in this chapter. Now we count when some of the objects look the same. Take the word success. It has 7 letters. 3 are S, 2 are C, 1 is U, and 1 is E. The 3 S letters are identical, so swapping 2 of them does not make a new string. That is the new difficulty. The plan is to fill the 7 positions 1 letter type at a time. Step 1. Choose 3 of the 7 positions for the S letters. C of 7, 3 ways and 4 positions are left. Step 2. Choose 2 of the 4 remaining for the C letters. C of 4, 2 ways and 2 are left. Step 3. Choose one of the 2 remaining for the UC of 2, 1 ways. Step 4. The E takes the last position. C of 1, 1, which is 1 way. This is the working. Line 1. The 4 steps happen one after the other, so the product rule says multiply the 4 counts. Line 2. Write each one out with theorem 2. Line 3. Now watch the canceling. The 4 factorial on the bottom of the first fraction meets the 4 factorial on top of the second, and they go. The same happens with 2 factorial, then 1 factorial. All that survives is 7 factorial on top, and the type sizes underneath. Line 4. 7 factorial is 5040, and the bottom is 12. So there are 420 different strings. The success example leads to a general rule, called Theorem 3. Suppose we have n objects in all. There are n sub 1 objects of type 1, n sub 2 of type 2, and so on up to n sub k of type k objects of the same type look alike. Then the number of different permutations is n factorial over the product of the type factorials. The proof is the success example with letters instead of numbers. Place one type at a time. Type 1 takes C of n, n sub 1 ways. Then n minus n sub 1 positions are left, so type 2 takes C of that n sub 2 ways. Keep going to the last type. The working is on the next slide. This is the working. Line 1. The types are placed one after the other, so we multiply their counts. Line 2. Write each count with theorem 2. Look at the bottom right of the first fraction. It is n minus n sub 1 factorial. Now look at the top of the second fraction. It is the same thing. Line 3. So they cancel. The same happens all the way along the chain, and the last one cancels against 0 factorial, which is 1. Only n factorial on top survives over the product of all the type factorials. That is Theorem 3. Many counting problems are really about putting objects into boxes. To count them, we ask 2 questions. First, are the objects distinguishable? That means each object is different, like people or numbered cards. Or are they indistinguishable, meaning all alike, like identical coins? Second, are the boxes distinguishable? That means the boxes are labeled and we can tell them apart. Or are they indistinguishable, meaning the boxes are plain and look the same? Two yes or no questions give 4 cases in total. Each case needs its own method. Let's see them 2 at a time. These are the first 2 cases. Both of them use label boxes. Case 1, distinguishable objects into distinguishable boxes. If we place them freely, each of the n objects picks one of the k boxes. So the count is k to the power n if instead we fix how many go where. With n sub I objects in box I, the count is n factorial over the product of the type factorials. For example, deal 5 cards to each of 4 players from a deck of 52. That count is 52 factorial over 5 factorial, 4 times 32 factorial for the leftover cards. Case 2, indistinguishable objects into distinguishable boxes. This is stars and bars. The count is C of n plus r minus 1, n minus 1. For example, 10 alike objects into 8 labeled boxes gives C of 17, 10, which is 19,448. These are the last 2 cases. In both of them the boxes are plain, so we cannot tell one box from another. Case 3, distinguishable objects into indistinguishable boxes. There is no simple closed formula. It uses Stirling numbers of the second kind. For example, there are 14 ways to put 4 employees into 3 plain offices. Case 4, indistinguishable objects into indistinguishable boxes. Again, there is no simple formula. The count is p sub k of n, the number of ways to write n as a sum of at most k positive whole numbers. For example, there are 9 ways to pack 6 copies of the same book into 4 identical boxes, and that is the whole chapter. 2 questions carry most of the counting you will ever do. Does order matter, and may we repeat?